We are at Saidanpur, 40 kilometers from Lucknow, at this beautiful Haveli called Waris Manzil. This belongs to the Habibullah family. Wajahat Habibullah is the owner and his extended family members. And this was named Waris Manzil after the Sufi saint Sheikh Waris Ali Shah, Waris Manzil. And because he was a great friend of Wajahat's great-great-grandfather. And he used to come and live in this house as well. So this is a classic traditional Indian Haveli. This is how all Indians used to live. This is the gateway with a major doorway and a smaller little door for people to enter and exit through without opening the main gate, and a smaller door here. And the space between these two doors, this entire area, is called a deodhi. And so often the outsiders would come and stay out, and the women used to be indoors with this door shut. So it was a perfect way of living. Hello.
Adab.
Adab, Wajahat. How are you?
Welcome to our old village home.
Oh, absolutely gorgeous home. I wish I could just live here in this place. Yeah, there's something about it which is so evocative of so many things.
Yeah.
So, Wajahat Habibullah Sahab, he's the owner of this Haveli and indeed of the village of Saidanpur. And he is a retired IAS officer. He was divisional commissioner of Jammu and Kashmir during very difficult times, 90 to 93. So, Wajahat, would you now tell us first how old this place is?
Well, first, let me say that, I am among the owners. It's really a family property.
Okay.
And the Adda, you may call it, the home of the Habibullah family now. But the relations, even beyond who don't carry the name of Habibullah, spread across the world. And we like to treat it as a home to all. And also, it's not that we are owners of the village. Yes, we have some properties here, but the family was talukdars of Saidanpur. And Saidanpur is the headquarters. There were several villages in the taluka. And taluka, of course, meant the area which was assigned to a particular individual to collect the revenue and see that he kept a certain portion at his own emoluments and gave the rest to the Nawab, to the officers of the Nawabs. So that is the history of this place, in the sense that we have, of course, had this property, now I don't know for how long, but the family moved here in about the 12th century. At that time, this whole area of Awadh was ruled by what are called the Bhar Rajputs, many of whose descendants are still among the ruling family. We're ruling families in the sense that you don't have ruling families anymore, but among talukdars. And so this is when the family actually moved here.
You're not quite sure when this ground floor was built, but still, for a rough idea, when do you think this was built?
This was built in stages. And you can tell from the brickwork that it was built in stages, not built in one go. As the family expanded, certain sections of the family would occupy certain portions of the property. Now you see that wall over there. Obviously the wall is of a fairly recent brick. So वो wall जैसा है, तो जैसे मैंने कहा कि उस दीवार के पीछे भी जो हिस्सा था, वो इस मकान का ही हिस्सा था. लेकिन जाहिर है, 12th century, तो बीच में फ़र्क भी हुए होंगे, या भाई ने चाहा होगा कि हमारा हिस्सा अलग से हम चाहते हैं. तो इस किस्म की चीज़ें तो तकसीम कई दफ़ा हुआ है. और इसका मतलब ये है, लेकिन ये जो हिस्सा है जो हमारे पास इस वक्त है, ये यकीनन हबीबुल्लाह ख़ानदान का ही हिस्सा है, क्योंकि और उस तरफ है जो हिस्सा, उसमें अब कोई मालिक नहीं है, तो उसको भी हम उसका इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं.
मतलब
जैसे आप
इस दीवार के पीछे
उसका इस्तेमाल एक तरबियत का सेंटर बनाया हुआ है जुलाहों के लिए, बुनकारों के लिए. तो इस प्रकार से ये जो सारा हिस्सा है, ये सबसे पुराना हिस्सा है. इस मकान का सीढ़ियाँ जाती हैं ऊपर तो दालान ही था, वरांडा ही था देखने के लिए, लेकिन इसके उस तरफ, दूसरी तरफ भी एक छोटा सा cottage type, a British type का cottage था,
अच्छा.
जो कि अब बिल्कुल ही खंडर हो गया है. This is the portion which is the older portion down below.
Here.
And you can see that there's a suite of rooms which is still there, and there's another similar area there, but there's no, that's blocked off because there's rooms which have been built on top of it. Now you will see that this structure, along with the central portion,
Right.
seems to constitute one design. Then you have on the two sides a fresh design where you can see the European influence.
Yes.
The European influence is very obvious. That is the portion that was added in the 19th century by my great-great-grandfather.
Yeah. Even here, you see foliated arches, you know, those
Yes.
triple arches. And here you have the very simple
That's right.
European style.
European style.
Arches
And this is
there.
the Mughal style, Mughal Rajput style. This is the Mughal Rajput style of the foliated arches, that wale. And here you have this thing. But this, you know, doesn't necessarily mean कि शुरू में ही ऐसा था. These may have been changed around also.
Right.
And given a more European look, because this area was then blocked off. Obviously, it's not been in use. This area also, I don't remember it being in use at all. In fact, it was full of bats and snakes when I used to come here as a child.
I see,
So this was actually sealed off. It was not being used at all.
Yeah.
Now we've reopened it and we hope to then put it back into use.
Right. Can we
Please.
take a look at that? तो ये हम बहुत ही पुराने हिस्से में अब जा रहे हैं.
Now this structure is what you are seeing is generally from the original. It would have been renovated long ago. Of course, now we've got pipes and electricity and things have been added. This is, of course, absolutely recent. But earlier, it had not been renovated for a very long time. And as I said, as a child, this area was completely blocked off and sealed. You couldn't enter here.
Okay.
So to go to the other rear portion of the house, you have to go from the outer door and go there. And there also a staircase from the upstairs, which goes and exits on the outer side.
Oh, is that right?
So that was also then later on sealed off. That's when my father moved here, which is late 20th century. But otherwise, those are the ways from outside or from above. Now you can go straight in, and you will notice the brickwork here. This is really ancient. But then notice the brickwork there, the flooring. This is much wider bricks. So it's obviously done much later. And
so what do you think there would have been for flooring? It would have been the same type of brick, the Lakhodi?
Or mud floor. This is a traditional flooring, which
Right.
has been carpeted.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
in these old structures, you didn't have natural flooring. You had, wood, natural stone flooring. You would have rich carpets covering the floor.
Right, covering the floors. And stone and brick, of course.
Stone and
I
brick,
know,
yes.
because I've seen it in
Yes.
some old houses that they have this.
This
type
will be
of-
very similar to what you find in Rajasthan. And as you can see, there are all shelves and this, that. So they would have used certain portions as a dressing area, certain portions to keep their, makeup or other things. Because this would have been the area of the zanana. So
Okay, that's interesting.
and
Okay.
This is where and this also got little cubicles and private spaces in this or rather a larger area. And normally in this area, they'd have these charpais.
Yes.
And the ladies would sit and chat with each other, and other guests
Right.
would come and sit there.
I know, here or here,
Yeah.
to supervise the
Yes.
goings on
That's right.
of the family, which
That's
was
right.
such a wonderful way of living, I think.
And they were joint families, so everybody was somebody's wife or somebody's mother, or somebody's sister.
Yes.
And they'd all be together.
Absolutely.
I don't think there was very much of a Saas Bahu kind of an issue.
Yes, but then, this was the Zanan Khana and the men, the Mardan Khana, so to speak. Do you think it would have been here in the
Well,
Angan?
they were gathered here, but like the rooms there, those could have been the dining area, which would have been on the floor. The upstairs you will find much of the furniture, the original furniture, which was there earlier installed by my great-great-grandfather. And that is very much in the European style, as is the architecture. So you can see the colonial influence had started to step in then. But before that, when this structure was only there, the bottom portion, then that portion, any of these areas could have been the dining space. As you saw, we entered from the main door. To the right is that the area where the roof has fallen in, and so they've shut it off. But that may have been the area where people would come and actually sit and dine and things like that.
Right.
It would be the private space for the family.
Right.
But I mean, private space, not like private space nowadays, the husband and wife and to have their kids.
Right.
Because there'll be cousins and brothers and their relations and others who would all come here, from whom there would not be parda, and the ladies would mix with them and so on and so forth. So therefore, those that you invited guests from outside, then perhaps they would have either shut this area off, but
with curtains.
This area, yes, they would use curtains,
right?
Because the old traditional Indian household, weren't divided. They did use doorways, but otherwise, as a partition, they would use curtains.
Exactly,
and you could actually sit and have a conversation through the curtain.
Yeah, through the curtain, on the other side of the curtain. This is for our viewers. You know, at that time, during the 18th, 19th century, etc., women in India practiced parda, which meant that women, they stayed indoors mainly, or they had their faces covered either by a ghungat or by a burqa. And the men had a separate area. So, especially outsiders. So, women used to stay indoors and have this space to move around, to do whatever they wished. And men, if they did come in, it was always indicated by a sound, you know, either clapping or anything. And then the women would retreat indoors.
And there's a courtyard behind that. The open space would be only for women.
Would be only for women. So that would be more exclusive to the women, the Zanan Khana as it was called. So this was part Zanan Khana and part Mardan Khana. And as Wajahat says, perhaps one section which was on the outside, that would have been the section where, you know, other male guests used to be brought in and entertained by the male members of the family.
And so far as the parda is concerned, it may be of interest to you also that among our family, they were the pioneers in the Talukdari class of society to pioneer the abandonment of parda. My grandmother, in fact, Inam Habibullah, who was a member of she was an MLC, she was also in the municipality, she gave up parda and was reputed to have been the first Talukdari lady to have given up the parda.
Wonderful.
Otherwise, the Talukdari women were all very much in parda. But I told you, and I can expand on that more, she didn't come here to spend too much time. But my mother was brought up in a Hyderabadi family. My mother is from Hyderabad, and she was brought up in a very conservative family. In fact, her father, who was the Chief Justice of the Hyderabad High Court, he retired as the Chief Justice there, in the time of the state of Hyderabad, was considered an authority on the Sharia law. And he was, but he did not bring her up in parda. She stayed in a zanana. The house had a zanana. And her mother, out of her own choice, kept very strict parda. No man was allowed to enter the women's section of that. Even we only allowed when they were little children. Otherwise, even young men, her own people, were not allowed into that space where she actually lived. She would come out of that space where the sitting room to meet with them. But her daughter, my mother, and you knew my mother, she was a very modern sort of a person.
Her name was Hamida Habibullah,
Habibullah,
by the way.
A former MP and so on, and minister. But she was not brought up in parda at all, sent abroad even for education in England. And so you had these trends at that time. And so she never took to parda at all.
Yeah. So I think, Wajahat, would you like to show us how this kind of extends?
Yes.
To the back as well.
That's right. Sorry. I'm actually helping you out.
No, not at all. Gone are those days.
And so,
women's equality.
And that house therefore extended this way also.
Yes.
These were also, as long as I remember, these had become ruins. So they're now being put to use for training purposes. And my Jyotsna is doing some work here on that thing. And you'll be seeing all that. But this house then probably extended up to there. That is the outer, and looks out onto a lake.
That's beautiful.
On that side.
You can see those arches. Again, it is the same foliated arches that are there. So clearly part of the same Haveli, which used to extend all the way here. And this is Jyotsna, Wajahat's daughter-in-law. So his son is Amar and Amar's wife Jyotsna, and this is Utkarsh. So Jyotsna is now running this center, which is a wonderful initiative on part of the family. And this is for livelihood of women and the village people.
Everybody.
So you tell us just briefly about what the family is doing here for the village.
So, with the Abba's help, the Digital Empowerment Foundation came here and set up their center now 11 years ago. So, here's Utkarsh. Utkarsh Rajawat is the project manager for the Digital Empowerment Foundation, and they are now working in 125 villages. And so empowering people, young people through a computer center, tailoring center, telemedicine, Utkarsh will tell you. And we support by then connecting other people and selling their products on our farmers market and things like that.
I said, just say, the way I was explaining, as you can see, this brickwork, and the brickwork in the building just next door. That is in fact part of the more ancient part of the house.
Right.
And this is the more recent part of the house.
Absolutely.
Although this, as I said, had become a ruin, it's just been repaired and put together to be able to run this center. But that is now a portion of the house which is probably occupied by a relative, but of course now is with us. And we are thinking in terms of how we can restore this work. So because it's very classic style architecture,
Yes.
as you can see from its
Absolutely.
remains.
So beautiful.
And these trees and things have all, of course, been planted by us. We've done our best to try and green the area
Right.
once more.
Or this is so beautiful. You can see that it was right until here, and it overlooks this
That's right.
lake, which
Yeah.
which runs almost around
It does.
the Haveli.
That's-
So when he's talking about ADCs, his father was a very famous General Inayat Habibullah, who was, I think, the third or the fourth commandant, but he was the one who built the National Defence Academy. Was
In
it the one
Khadakwasla.
in Khadakwasla? So the Dehradun one was already built.
The Dehradun one comes down from British times. It was made into the National Defence Academy in the 40s, I think, or 50s. As soon as it became independent, as soon as independence was there, I think in 1951. And then it was decided to have a proper tri-service academy for our army, and there it was decided to have this in Khadakwasla. Khadakwasla has a great significance because it is overlooked by the fort of Singar. If you remember, this fort of Singar has very romantic evocations. It was the fort that Shivaji himself took from Shaista Khan, who was the uncle of the Emperor Aurangzeb, who
I
was
see.
actually ruling
Wow.
Singar.
So what is very interesting about this family is it's full of very eminent people, but nobody really lived in this place as such. So General Habibullah, when he retired from the army after moving around in some important posts, he came back finally to Lucknow. And of course, in the city, they have another beautiful old bungalow. And so that is when really he and his wife, Begum Hamida Habibullah, they started to take interest again in this place, and it started to get more inhabited. Then a mango orchard was planted, I think. Is that right?
Several mango orchards.
Several mango orchards were planted, and slowly this is still coming back to life, this place.
Well, yes, the mango plantations were there, and the orchards are there. You can probably take pictures of them.
Right.
But my father then set up a stud farm here,
Yeah.
which was called the
And
Phoenix Stud.
where was that?
In the lands, in our properties outside. And he then, while he was running the Phoenix Stud, he actually took up residence in this house. So he was the first person after my great-great-grandfather to actually live for some length of time in this house in Saidanpur.
Oh, I see. Okay.
This is a
This is a
traditional
well.
well.
Yeah.
Or when people lived here,
Right.
this would be the local sort of bathroom.
Yes.
Because they'd come and do their wuzu here.
Right.
They'd come and do their bathing here. And as I told you, this is really an enclosure where no strange people are allowed to enter at all.
Right.
But there's also a source of fresh water.
Yes.
For the building there, because we didn't, of course, in those days have any piped water.
Of course.
And the lake water, more recently we have now installed another well for that, which pumps out the lake water and filters it. But in those days, this was the groundwater
Right.
which was used for
Right.
the purpose.
And I love the way there's a platform. इसको दिखा सकते हो, Divyanshu? There's a little raised platform, and you bathe with a bucket and a mug, and your water flows out into this section and then really flows back into the land. And what could be more sustainable? So, hi Shahla, hello. This is Wajahat's beautiful wife. She's always so elegant, Shahila. We are here on the upper story, and this is where the family lived. And this was built somewhere in which century?
The upper floor, as I said, the central portion may have been older, but otherwise this area, the dining area and the sitting area, was built by my great-great-grandfather in the 19th century.
Okay.
As I said, the central portion is probably older, which would be over there without this veranda. But this veranda, together with that, and then the two side chambers, which is the sitting room area, drawing room, and the area which is for the dining space.
Right.
This was probably added somewhere in the late 19th century by my great-grandfather.
Wow, still so old.
Yeah.
You know, this really reflects a change in the lifestyle, even in the way this building was built. So downstairs you have the very traditional haveli with the courtyard and rooms all around. And here it becomes more of a koti. So the influence of the British is very visible in this area. So one section and a later section which is all here. And you'll see a drawing room, you'll see a bedroom, you'll see a dining room. So this division of space really came about with the advent of the British. So let's go and see that.
So this portion is just a kind of ante-room leading to the sitting room, where, you know, you took off your hats and your coats, and very much an English kind of tradition.
Right.
And walking sticks and things. And this is actually, and then there's a side. So visitors would probably have a book here to sign and things.
Right. There's a very nice old document here, I think from 1903.
1903.
I think something presented by the King of England to your grandfather.
By the Emperor, something by order of the Emperor, because by then, of course, India was, as you know, already a part of the British Empire.
Right, right. So it says, in recognition of assistance and advice given by him in public matters. So, very interesting document.
So he was, as I said, a person who was a personal friend of Haji Waaris Ali Shah, whose dargah is in Deva Sharif.
He was a Sufi mendicant and a saint after that. And nearby there is the very famous Deva Sharif, which is dedicated to Haji Waaris Ali Shah.
And the tomb, the building of which he himself had designed, and he himself Sheikh Inayatullah, is actually buried at the foot of Haji Waaris Ali Shah in a marble mausoleum just at the foot of the dargah.
Oh, how beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
But this is, I will now show you the actual room where Haji Waaris Ali Shah was the guest.
So that's a very important room, historically speaking.
So this is the room, and it's exactly as it was when he was here.
Take off my slippers and go in, maybe?
Yes, I think so. This is the portrait of Haji Waaris Ali Shah.
And this is actually the room where he
used to come and stay.
He used to come and stay because he was a friend of the family.
This carpet is a new one. Yahan purani dari hoti thi. I don't know. It's probably decayed.
Yeah. Shall we go into the drawing room now? Yeah, and this very unique
and now we have
piece,
this modern bathroom.
The pankha, the hand-pulled
this is an original.
pankha.
We just left it there.
Absolutely, it's an original pankha, and very rare to find this anywhere in India now because nobody's preserved it. That's why, but they have.
You should have a little boy or something. There should be a string from there, and the child would sit and with his foot,
with his foot
tied on his toe.
So, ye dart ki chhat, you know, right on top. These are these. What are they called? These arches in English. there's a term for it.
Yes,
Vaulted.
How?
Yeah.
Vaulted,
There's a
that's right.
vaulted roof on top. Also shows you how old this
Vaulted
house
roof
is.
on top and the molding all around.
Yes. Molding all around, and it's all intricately painted. So do you know anything about, were they local, the
Yes,
craftspeople who painted this?
Everything is done from the local. The
Remarkable.
carpenters, the masons,
Yes.
the painters, all that.
Right. And let's go into the balcony, Wajahat. This is also my most favorite part of the house, is this balcony.
Well, this has been, I don't know if it's been removed or fallen off, but of course
Yeah.
it will all require intensive repairs here
Yes.
and restoration work.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, but you see how elegant and how beautiful this is, the bedroom, and you step out here, you have your morning cup of
That's
tea,
right.
evening cup of tea, overlooking this expanse of greenery.
our greenery, there were trees and other things there. And
Yes.
then my father kept his stallion over here when he has had a stud
Oh,
farm.
I
the
see.
stallion was here, and now the boys have built for themselves a cottage, which is
Right.
a modern cottage where it's a little easier to stay.
Yes.
And then, as you can see, we planted trees all around. So
Yes.
there's plenty of greenery.
Absolutely. Okay, we can now come into this. I think you tell us something about the chandeliers also. I think they are pretty old, right? The chandeliers.
These were all, I think, imported. And
Okay, this is the main drawing room. So beautiful.
And the furniture is all, of course, the tapestry has been restored, but otherwise it's the old furniture. And these mirrors were also imported, the Belgian mirrors. One, of course, has been replaced because it's rotted. And the other one is the original. And the new one has been rebuilt by local artisans, of course, on the pattern of the...
What about the carving here? Was
Yeah.
this entire thing imported, or was it just the mirror?
I think the whole thing was imported. Including
what that is.
The carving, the carving, in the sense that the design was provided to them to, in fact, copy and put it into
Right, and it's gilded, so
Yes.
that's also beautiful. It's two angels,
Yeah.
and with like a serpent-like.
This is the emblem they had a kind of royal emblem.
Oh, is
they
that
regarded
right?
themselves as sort of royalty. So
Yeah.
that was the emblem.
Yeah,
And this is but you will see that the other one is inferior in its execution. It's not as good as this.
Okay, yes, and
Because it got rotted.
again, this room has the same vaulted
That's
roof,
right.
and right along the vaulted sections is also this border, painted border that runs
molding,
along.
yeah.
Also, really beautiful. Ventilators, of course, to let out the hot air.
That's right.
We don't do this anymore in India, and it's so foolish. This is what we need.
And this is how the place remained cool. Then you have husky tatties on the doors there.
Okay.
And they would
yeah.
be spraying that with water.
Yeah,
So
okay.
the place would remain quite cool. Whichever side the wind was blowing from, there you would have the husky tatties.
Right.
And there you would keep spraying them with water and the place would remain quite cool.
So all these little, embellishments, the paintings, etc. Then you have the chandeliers. Were these also imported at that time? Or?
This was the work of my great-grandfather, as I said, who added this portion, these
Right.
two portions.
Yeah.
Then
They
of
must have been
course,
Belgian, right? I think.
Probably Belgian. Probably Belgian. And then, of course, my grandfather didn't take any interest. His early life he spent here. He was married in those days, married very young. And he had two daughters by that first wife. But the first wife passed away fairly early. And then he moved on to actually serving with the government of UP at that time, which was the British government. And then he became a very good friend of Sir Harcourt Butler. So in the 1920s, when my father and his brothers were in fact studying in England, my grandfather was DM of Saidanpur. And then he came back from there and he'd been manager of the properties of Raja Mahmudabad. because Raja Mahmudabad, previous Raja Mahmudabad, had in the beginning of the 20th century passed away when he was very young, and when the present Maharaja Ali Mia's grandfather had taken over as Maharaja, he was still a child. So Harkat Butler had appointed a committee who acted as regents and ran the kingdom of Mahmudabad, and my grandfather was the director, the manager of the Mahmudabad properties. So during that time, he was also the DM of Saharanpur, and in fact, it's interesting because his daughter, who was to become my mother-in-law, she was with him also. The sons, as I mentioned, were away in England. And the SP at that time was a chap called Freddie Roy, I think his name was, who was the person who captured Sultana Daku. You've heard of the legend of Sultana Daku.
Is that right?
Then my grandfather never really came to this village again. After his first wife died, he migrated to Lucknow, took up service with the government, then became registrar of the university and then vice chancellor of Lucknow University. So he is the one who actually conceived of the idea of having a Lucknow University and the building old classic designs and things. He's largely responsible. You also have Habibullah Hostel in Lucknow,
yes, absolutely,
which is named after him. And
there's a Mahmudabad hostel also, and
they're together,
right?
Because he was in fact managing the Mahmudabad property also. So that donation was also organized by him. So he had a key role in building that. But he didn't like to have anything to do with the village. He felt that the village, like an old feudal society, was centered in intrigue and conspiracy, and therefore he did not want to come here at all. He did not want his sons to come here at all.
Right.
But when his sons came back from England in the 1930s, my father had been commissioned in the army. The younger one was working with Burma Shell, was working with the ITC, Imperial Tobacco Company in Calcutta. The elder one was preparing for the civil services. And
there's one little fact that I remember, you told me long back, that, when Sheikh Muhammad Habibullah, when he sent his 3 sons abroad to the UK to study, it was all of 17 years that they didn't come back to India.
Right.
And I think only once in between, your grandmother, she made a trip, did she?
She and her husband, and with my mother-in-law, their younger daughter, their only daughter, in fact. In 1924, they visited England, and then my grandmother, who was a very well-educated person. She didn't know much of English, but she was extremely well-educated in Urdu, and she'd written several books. So one book she'd written, Taasirat Safar Europe. A whole chapter from that book has been reproduced in English in a book called Travels of Muslim Women to Europe. And they spent about a year in Europe, which was really a long holiday.
Yes.
But then that was the only holiday they had then, 1924.
Right.
So that was
very interesting to know that. Yes. Okay. This is Saif. I think we've not met Saif here. He's the younger son of Wajahat and Shahila.
Yes.
So Saif also works in the village with the people.
Yes.
And so would you tell us?
So actually it was during the COVID time that I started coming here, when we had actually got isolated in Delhi and Lucknow.
Right.
So at that time I found out these lovely young children who would come and want to study. So I started teaching them English, and I got involved with the weavers also, and then I connected them to other people who are doing other things. So now people are buying cloth from them and doing embroidery and doing home furnishings and other things in Kanpur. So so that helped the community a bit.
Lovely. Absolutely wonderful.
So that was a very satisfying experience for me in the village.
So both he and Jyotsna, Amar's wife, I mean, they are all, in fact, the entire family is very, very occupied in looking after people in the village.
This is, I think, a mutton korma.
Yeah, okay.
Salad, mutton, meat. Mutton salad.
Lovely.
And the good thing is that the rumalis are made of atta. Instead of the maida rumalis you
Wonderful. ये आटे की रुमाली रोटी हैं. Yeah. And of course, where would we be without biryani?
Biryani, yes.
So This is this Awadh food. Wonderful.
And the thing is that every village has its own flavor. So if what the flavor that you get in Lucknow won't be the same flavor of the biryani that you get in the other people's homes. So that's really what I think is the speciality.
Is that right?
That's what I've experienced so far.
Wonderful.
Is that's what makes it unique, right? Because every home doesn't, this flavor won't be the same.
Yeah. Slight difference, yes. It'll still be biryani, but it's true. In that little thing, and I remember, this old cook that used to be in my father's home, he would always say that, हाँ आप जरूर बता दीजिए मसाले क्या क्या पड़े हैं, लेकिन एक चीज दबा के रखिएगा, एक चीज मत बताइए, तो उनका स्वाद एक आएगा ही नहीं. So this is absolutely marvelous. Thank you so much for this lovely meal.